If you're one of our clients or you follow us on social media and you watch some of our videos, you'll hear me and Adam banging on about mood diaries and why it's important to track your moods. Now, it is something we encourage everybody to do. We do it ourselves, we encourage our kids to do it because there's just so many benefits to it, and it can really help you take control of your life, control of your moods, your emotions, and the things that are actually affecting your moods and your emotions. So here's my 6 reasons why you should keep a mood tracker. So first of all, the type of mood tracker that you keep can be as basic as pen and paper or a diary or a notepad. You could keep a note in the notes section of your phone, or there are apps as well that you can download to keep track of your moods. My preference is a diary, so I keep a daily diary for lots of different reasons, and I just, at the top of the page in my diary, I just have a section where I've written mood out of 10, and I keep a little score of it. So number 1 reason why you should keep a mood diary is there are different things that will happen throughout the day or the week that will have an impact on your mood, and it could be deadline pressure that you've got, coming up at work. It could be that the house is a mess and the clutter's making you a bit anxious and driving you a little bit mad. It could be money worries and you've got bills looming, etc. But it's only really when we start tracking the moods and having to think about what might have affected our mood that day that alarm bells can start to sound, and you can start to realise which things in your life are the things that are causing you the most upset or the most low moods. So first of all is by tracking your mood every day on a scale of 0 to 10. We do 0 being absolutely terrible, worst it could be, suicidal, and 10 being best day ever, you couldn't imagine ever feeling any better than that. We recommend you keep a score 0 to 10. If you can then see that your score is particularly low that day, you can then reflect and have a little think about why your mood might be low that day. Some days you'll be able to make a really easy connection with what is making you feel a bit shitty. Other days you won't be able to make any connection whatsoever, and that then could indicate that it's hormonal or chemical rather than situational and circumstances. So first of all, it allows you to connect your mood and your feelings to events that are people in your life. And that information can be really, really valuable. And once you've got that information, you can work on eliminating the toxic relationships, eliminating the scenarios that are causing you stress and anxiety, or taking control of those scenarios. But it's only when we really connect the mood to what's happening around us that we can make those regular links and think, you know what, actually I always get a little bit stressed on a Sunday when I've got to go back to work on a Monday. We found this really useful with the kids as well, because there were certain days of the week where the kids' mood might dip, and those days of the week might be recurring. And then we can start to say to them, every Tuesday your mood is a 6 out of 10 instead of a 9 out of 10 like the other day. So what might be happening on a Tuesday? And they might say, oh, it's because I've got Spanish at school and don't really like the teacher and I find it really difficult. And it's a really good conversation topic for you to help and support your kids as well. So I'd recommend doing it as a family. Some people who've seen our videos before will see before we had lockdown, we as a family did the school run together every morning, and we'd always do our scores verbally rather than written in a diary. And we'd go around each person in the car. We actually posted a video one morning of it, and we'd say, Axel, what's your mood on a scale of 0 to 10 today? And he'd tell us what his mood was and why. And it's really good for teaching kids how to express their emotions, but it's also really good for them to see that we have emotions and we have stresses as well, and sometimes they contribute to those stresses, and sometimes we're stressed but we don't really mean to take it out on them, but they know that we're a little bit stressed that day. So it's a really good exercise, whether it's written, whether it's verbal, whether it's in an app. Definitely encourage everybody in the family to do it. Reason 1, like I said, it allows you to connect how you're feeling to either circumstances or people, etc. in your life at that particular time. Could be conflict at work, or like I said, it could be bills looming, etc. So really good for that reason. Number 2, it will allow you to see if there are any recurring patterns. So like I said with the kids, there was particular days of the week where their moods would take a dip, and it might be if, you know, they had no PE that day because they love PE and they prefer the days that they've got PE at school. And with myself, my pattern is very, very hormonal. So I have days of the month that are absolutely top scoring, brilliant, couldn't feel any better, super productive. And then I have days where I, you know, have brain fog, being around people just agitates me, etc. And through tracking moods, I was able to see that there was a clear cyclic pattern to it. And then I can communicate with the people around me to say, I'm expecting a bit of a blip this week around Thursday, Friday-ish. So can you just help me out? Can you, you know, make sure the house is a little bit tidier? Can you make sure the dogs are walked, etc. So I'm less likely to get, you know, a little bit snappy. So it allows you to see not just the day-to-day events that are causing things to pull your mood off track, but to see longer term patterns that might be happening as well. Certain times of the month for hormones, certain times of the month for bills, deadline pressures, month end and things like that. Work could potentially impact it, so it allows you to see that bigger picture and if there are any patterns influencing it. It then allows you to see what your triggers are. So it's not just good from a negative point of view for you to see what triggers your mood to be low, but if you rate yourself a 10 out of 10 and the reason for that 10 out of 10 is because you've got a day off work, you've got an afternoon with the kids, you've just been paid, etc. We can see, you know, how can we replicate those scenarios more frequently. If you feel at your best when you're at rest, when you're off work, when you're spending time with your kids, when your house is clean, etc., we think, well, how can we create more days like that to be a 10 out of 10, and how can we reduce the days when you're maybe a 3 or a 4 out of 10, etc. But by knowing your moods, it can really start to make you aware of your triggers. Now, some of us only have 1 or 2 triggers, but if they happen recurring, so if it's a job that you hate and you've got to go there every day, you might feel unhappy and sad every single day. Or if you're in a toxic relationship, or just a relationship that's kind of, you know, it might have passed its sell-by date, for example, and there's no passion or spark there anymore, and it just becomes a bit exhausting to be in that situation. Now, that could just be one scenario that's making you feel low, but if you've got to live in that scenario all day, every day, in a bad job, in a bad relationship, or with conflict at work, etc., it can make you feel like you're depressed and anxious and stressed all of the time. And it's a case of changing one scenario to potentially then put your life on the right track. So it will really allow you to see, are there lots of things that you've lost control of in your life? So your finances, your health, your fitness, your relationship with your kids, your relationship with your partner, etc. So lots of things, and you're just dropping the ball on everything. Or is there just 1 or 2 things that are just making you overwhelmingly sad or low, or stressed, etc. So by tracking your moods and tracking your triggers, we can really start to hone in on what's actually causing the moods. The next benefit, so benefit number 4, like I said previously, especially for females, it will really allow you to see if there are any hormonal links. Now, a lot of women who are on birth control or going through the menopause, etc., almost feel like they're exempt from having hormonal ups and downs. You're absolutely not. So don't use the fact that you're on birth control or the fact that you've gone through the menopause, etc., to be a reason to not log because, well, I don't really have hormones. We all have them, men included. For men, when you've trained weights, you should feel a boost in testosterone. When you've had a little bit to drink, maybe a couple of pints, you should feel a little bit brighter in mood. But then if you go over the edge and have too many beers, you'll have a dip in testosterone. So there is a very strong link to moods and hormones and moods, and alcohol and moods and things like that. So it just allows you to really try and understand what chemicals and hormones might be having an influence on your body as well. The other thing is, it will allow you to see, so this is point number 5, it'll allow you to see if your mood affects your diet and your training. So on the days of low mood, you swerve training, you eat shit, or actually if eating shit and swerving training affects your mood, sometimes it can be a bit of a chicken or an egg situation, but it can really help you to understand why you fall off track with your diet sometimes, or actually why your mood impacts your diet, or why having a bad diet then impacts your mood. for example, as well. So it's really good for linking your daily moods to, you know, on the days when you're a 10 out of 10, are those the days when you're exercising really well and you're eating well? So actually, we know we need to do more of that because you feel great when you do it. And the last one is probably one of the most useful, but if you ever need to go and have a conversation with your doctor and you say, I'm struggling a little bit with my hormones, or I'm struggling a bit with my moods, my depression and anxiety, and they say, how often, you know, do you have these thoughts? How often do you feel sad? Sometimes when we're deep in the midst of feeling stressed and anxious, it feels like we feel like that all of the time and we never have any good spells. Whereas actually tracking it and keeping a diary means that when you go to the doctor's office, I've been able to go into the doctors and say, I'm having hormonal issues, or I feel I'm having hormonal issues, because the only time my mood dips and I have brain fog and I have anxiety, etc., is when I'm ovulating and when I'm due a period. And that is cyclitic, and there's a very, very clear pattern. So is there anything you can do to help me around ovulation time? Is there any, you know, contraception or any hormonal replacements or boosters that will help me around that time to feel the effects a little bit less? And it's similar if you're feeling sad or depressed on a regular basis. You can say to the doctor, look, out of the last 30 days, for 25 of those days, I felt low, I felt suicidal, I felt, you know, like there's nothing to live for. Whereas if it's one day, you know, every 30 days, you know, not that the doctor wouldn't take you seriously, but it's just good for you to be able to know how frequent these spells are and be able to communicate that very specifically to a medical professional. Not only that, if you start tracking, and for example, out of 30 days in a month, you have 25 days when you feel shit, and you start improving things in your life a little bit, so you start going out for a daily walk, and then the next month you have 23 days out of 30 days when you feel like shit. If you're not tracking it, it can be really, really easy to not really see that progress, but actually you felt better for 2 more days this month, but because 23 days still feels like a lot, it feels like you're not getting any better. And then the next month you might have 21 bad days out of 30 30 total days. And again, there's some clear progression there. You know, it is actually working. Whatever you're doing is helping to improve your moods on a regular basis. But because 20-something days still feels like the majority of the month, you just feel like you're unfixable and like nothing's improving. So it provides better data for your doctors. It also provides better data for you. So if you're not doing it, it literally takes a couple of minutes. If you want to track it an extra little level, I like doing a score in the morning when I wake up and at night before I go to bed. So I might wake up absolutely buzzing, dead happy, dead calm, I'm a 10 out of 10. And then as the day goes on, you know, stressful things might happen, or conflict with people, or the kids might drive me mad, or the dogs might chew up my favourite pair of shoes or whatever. So then by bedtime I might be a 6 out of 10. So then I can say, well, actually, if I started at a 10 out of 10 today and now I'm a 6 out of 10, what's chipped away at me through the day that's made me feel that way? And it can literally be, like I said, just a little note in a diary or a little note on your phone that says, morning score, 6 out of 10, bedtime score, X out of 10. Or you can just start and do it once a day. For now, just your overall general score for that day. If you can write a few comments as to why, then you're going to get more data, and just use it as data gathering to start with. Don't read too much into it, just gather it every day. What's your score out of 10? Ask the kids. Doing it verbally over breakfast or in a car journey on the school run and stuff like that really helps, because you can make it a ritual. So wherever you can slot it in as a part of a daily routine, you're more likely to stick to it. But if you're not doing it, give it a go. Whether you're male, whether you're female, whether you're a child, adult, etc., go for it. It will give you a lot of insight into what's going on in your life, and it will make you feel more in control and more likely to do something about the things that are affecting you. Good luck, give it a go. Any questions, let me know.